Welcome to this edition of Let's Chat America with your radio host, the Reverend Dr. L. Ronald Durham. This weekly program opens the phone lines for you to call in live and share your questions or comments. On this program, we discuss the latest news and opinions of things that may affect the lives of those here in Daytona Beach and the nation. So join Dr. Durham for today's program.
Good afternoon, beloved, and welcome to this edition of Let's Chat America. I'm your radio host, Reverend Dr. L. Ronald Durham. So delighted to have you tuned in wherever you are, your home, your automobile, your office. Those of you who are going to be on our Facebook Live feed, we see you already coming into Facebook. What a delight it is to be in the studio with you today. What a gorgeous day in the city, gorgeous. Temperatures mid-70s today. We should probably touch right around that 80-degree mark. And I've got my palm shirt on, my palm tree shirt. I'm ready for this warm weather. This is your radio program today, and I'm so delighted you are part of our conversation. But if you want to get on the air, you want to be live on the radio, all you have to do is dial those 10 numbers, 386-868-0635. 386-868-0635. Lynette, blessings, beloved. We see you on our Facebook Live feed. Always good to have you on the air with us today. Many of you may have saw my Facebook post earlier today. I posted a picture of one of the early queens of England side by side with Meghan Markle. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. We want your opinions. Hello, beloved. My love, Alberta. Good to see you, beloved, on the air today. All of you who are coming in, what a gorgeous day to serve the Lord and to be on the radio. We're going to talk about Meghan Markle. We're going to talk about the relief package that passed yesterday in the House of Representatives. We're going to talk about a lot of things on the air today. Albred Marbury, we're going to talk about that. Ahmaud Arbery, rather. So many things. If you want to join the conversation, we're even going to talk about Jimmy Carter today, the former president of the United States. A lot of stuff on the agenda for us on this Thursday afternoon. It is 2 minutes past the hour. Give me a call if you want to be live on the air with me, 386-868-0635. 386-868-0635. Let's open up our conversation today. I don't know if you heard about this particular incident. It was reported in theroot.com. There is a deeply disturbing reminder to all of us of how inhumanely oftentimes black children are likely to be treated in this country. This particular incident is a story about a 13-year-old, actually it's a 5-year-old, but it comes on the heels of a story about a 13-year-old middle schooler that was in Plano, Texas. This middle schooler had a lot of bullying that was going on, including allegedly being forced to drink urine by his classmates. But now comes a story out of Arkansas about a family's complaint that a 5-year-old child in kindergarten, this kindergarten child's teacher made this child dig through a toilet bowl that was clogged with feces. That's right, 5 years old. Had to dig in a toilet bowl full of feces. This teacher made this child try to clean it out. Ashley Murray of Little Rock, Arkansas, shared the disturbing allegations with KARK News on this past Tuesday, saying that her 5-year-old son was made to put his bare hands in a dirty toilet bowl filled with urine by his teacher at Crystal Hill Elementary School after the toilet got clogged up. Said Miss Murray, she said, "It's degrading for a child, so I don't feel like any child should have to go through this," end quote. I agree with her wholeheartedly. Who would take a 5-year-old and tell them to dig their hands into a toilet bowl and clean out the feces? According to a post made by the child's grandmother on Facebook, the teacher allegedly made the boy put his hand in the toilet and, quote, clean out his feces and tissue because he had clogged it, end quote. Anyone that could do that to a child, I mean, it takes a depraved mind to force a child to do something like that. But anyone who could do that to a child, and not to mention, this was a school teacher who could do that to a child in the classroom. It's a person who has deep-seated cruelty and sadism, in the opinion of the writer from TheRoot.com. Both those traits are historically related to racism, and the child's grandmother raised the issue of the boy's race in her response to this egregious incident. Tammy Murray posted, quote, "This child is 5 years old in kindergarten. He's a young black male, and this was done to degrade him, belittle him, and to cause him to have anxiety. He keeps telling everyone what happened," end quote. Well, of course he's telling everyone what happened. The boy was traumatized by a school teacher allegedly making him dig his hands into a toilet bowl, a little black boy, and remove the feces with his hands because the toilet was clogged. This is unconscionable. If you want to join my conversation about this story, Bert, I know this must be something that you can relate to, being a teacher in the classroom. Give me a call. Pick up the phone, 386-868-0635. 386-868-0635. Getting back to this story, the Murrays are now, of course, the family is calling for the teacher to be terminated. Speaking of calling the child's mother, the teacher talked to her on the phone about the incident. Murray continued by saying she said she didn't have an explanation. She just knew she was wrong, but she stated to the principal that she was trying to teach how not to stop up a toilet, end quote. Now, that's supposed to be the teacher saying that she's trying to teach this boy by using his bare hands, digging into a toilet bowl, how not to clean a toilet. She didn't have an explanation. Luckily, the writer of this story had a few, and you can read this story at TheRoot.com. The Pulaski County Special School District told The Root in a statement that the teacher is on administrative leave pending an investigation of this incident. They would not disclose the name of the teacher, who uncorroborated reports online have identified as a white woman, citing district policy for disciplinary personal matters. That's what they're claiming. The statement from the school district said, quote, "Employees across the district work hard every day to create an environment where students feel safe and protected," end quote. Doesn't sound like it was protected to me. The students' environment was not protected with a teacher telling a 5-year-old little boy to dig his hands, bare hands, not even put on gloves, but dig your bare hands into the toilet and clean out the feces. What do you think? I mean, to me, I couldn't pass sharing this story with you all because I don't know how many of you saw it online, but it is an outrageous act of racism subjecting this little child. Now, this little boy is going to be traumatized for a long time, and I would dare say it's possible he will never forget this. But it is unbelievable. Lynette, you're right, it is on Facebook. But it's just incredible to me that we see these ongoing racist acts. And we're going to talk about Meghan Markle in a minute. I know you want to hear about that. And you may want to call me about the Duchess of Sussex and what happened to her over in England. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But if you want to call me about this story, little 5-year-old boy in Arkansas digging in a toilet barehanded to clean out feces. Give me a call. Pick up the phone, 386-868-0635. 386-868-0635. You know I got to be on stuff like this to share with you, my listening audience, because it's a daily occurrence. We see these kinds of racist acts perpetrated on a daily, I would say probably on an hourly basis. Something in this country is dealing with the inappropriate relationships that we see in America between races. And when are we going to grow up as a country? The systemic, ingrained racism in this country is an abomination. And the world laughs at America when we try to institute policies across the country and force other countries to be more humane with minority persons in their country, treat them with dignity and respect. And then right here at home, we find that there is so many perpetrations of racist acts upon African Americans, Hispanics, and other people of color. Arkansas, 5 years old, little boy, having to dig in the toilet to clean out feces by his teacher. Give me a call. Tell me what you think. I mean, it is outrageous. 386-868-0635. Doc Lewis, we see you on the Facebook Live feed. Henrietta Griffin, we see you. Diane Martin, we see you, homegirl from New Jersey, on our Facebook Live feed. All of you who are tuning in, we are delighted to have you. You're listening to Let's Chat America here on Joy 106.3 FM. This is Daytona's favorite gospel station, and this is the number one talk show in Daytona Beach, Volusia County on Thursday at 12 noon. Hope you'll call me. We want to talk about a lot of stuff today. We're going to get to Meghan Markle in a minute because I think all of us saw or heard what was going on with Prince Harry and the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle. A lot of stuff going on in the country and around the world. 386-868-0635. The phone is open for you to talk about the first item on our list of topics today, which was the Arkansas 5-year-old boy cleaning out a toilet made to clean out a toilet by his teacher with just his bare hands. Poor little boy. I mean, I can't even imagine what this little boy was thinking. I can only picture him with tears streaming down his face because his teacher was making him do something that is so gross and so unbelievable. He probably thought he was in another reality, that this couldn't be happening to him in school. I mean, this is in school where children are supposed to be learning, and in kindergarten, they're supposed to be learning the social graces of interacting with one another as human beings, being taught how to be respectful, how to carry themselves in the classroom. And here this teacher perpetrates such an egregious act upon this young child, allegedly. 386-868-0635. Somebody wants to talk about it, give me a call. I'd love to get your views on that particular subject. Let's get to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex. Coming from NBCnews.com, we had to talk about this today because it's all over every major news outlet, all over most radio stations across the country and around the world. Newspapers have it as the feature article, front page article in most cases. Prince Harry and Meghan's comments, as you know, were made on Oprah Winfrey's show, and there's no better interviewer. She's par excellence when it comes to interviewing people on her program. Oprah had both of them talking about this incident and other incidents in England. Uncle Eugene, I see you on the Facebook feed. Good to see you, Uncle Eugene, always. But these issues began to be unraveled on Oprah's program, issues from mental health to royal protocol, but for many Black Britons, they were about one thing, and that was race. The interview aired in the United Kingdom on Monday night, and it confirmed the obvious, and that is daily racism that is experienced by so many, according to Anna Miles, a 28 biracial writer from Manchester, England, a city in the northwest part of the country. Anna Miles said, quote, "It's angering and upsetting. This is how we're treated day to day. It's just a constant reminder of how we're seen and how little Black and brown people are respected," end quote. Meghan Markle said Harry told her that royal insiders had expressed, quote, concerns about how dark skinned their children might be. The couple declined to name who the individual was, but Oprah later said that Harry made it clear that it was not the Queen herself, Queen Elizabeth II, his grandmother, nor was her husband, Prince Philip, the one who made the remark, according to Harry. Buckingham Palace issued a statement late Tuesday addressing the interview and said the family was, quote, saddened. That's their response. The family was saddened to learn the extent of the challenges faced by the couple. It's just unbelievable to me that these individuals who are there in the palace every day, all day, didn't see the anguish, the concern, the frustration of Meghan Markle as she walked through the halls of the palace, attempting to put on a good face and put on a sense of wanting to be accepted as the wife of the Prince of England, Harry. I just can't believe that people did not see a change in her demeanor, a change in her attitude, perhaps. Someone had to see it. Someone had to notice. And the ironic thing is that Harry's brother and his wife, one of their major initiatives is dealing with mental health issues. And here, his brother, his sister-in-law are going through this mental anguish. And according to Megan, we'll get into it here in a minute, but Megan said that she did reach out. She tried to get some help for what she was going through. If you want to call me, pick up the phone, because this is a fascinating story about what's going on, or what went on in England. And according to many Black Brits, it goes on all the time. 386-868-0635. You can be on the air with me. The line is open. 386-868-0635. The statement said from Buckingham Palace, from the royals, here was what they said, quote, "The issues raised, particularly that of race, are concerning. While some recollections may vary," I don't know who they're talking about having recollections that vary, but they said while some recollections may vary, they are taken very seriously and will be addressed by the family privately, end quote. Let's see if we can get this caller on the air here on our program today. Caller, welcome to Let's Chat America. What's your question or your comment?
Well, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Oh, my God. Hi. Oh, I'm on the video station. No, I was just wondering, I was listening to you about Miss Megan.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the problem going on with her?
Well, obviously she had some issues with the way she was being treated as an African American there in England. She felt as though. Can you turn down your radio, ma'am?
Yes, I sure can. Oh, that's good. Okay.
Please do turn it down, because we're getting some feedback.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she obviously felt as though she was not being treated fairly as the wife of the prince. And in this story that I'm sharing with the audience today, there are other Black Brits who feel that this is something that they experienced and do experience every day in England.
Okay, exactly.
So it's a terrible situation that she has to go through as a duchess there in England.
Right, Kate, you're right. Kate is something because she feels like she's jealous of Megan, with her trying to get along with her. She feels like she want to be better than her, but she's not.
Right.
Okay, right. So I understand what you're saying. The situation it is, but I just pray for Megan. You understand what I'm saying? And so whatever she's done, she didn't do nothing wrong. She just, looking out for her and her family.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Exactly. Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Okay.
All right.
I wish her good luck, though. I wish I can get in contact with her. There's no way I can get in contact with her, is it?
No, I don't think right now they're putting out any contact information for her. If you keep checking online, you may be able to pick up an address that you can write her a letter. But you have to just keep looking, and perhaps something will come up online that will give you an address to write to her.
Oh, so you don't have anything?
I don't have a direct contact for her, no.
All right, thank you so much. Have a very blessed day. So when I go online, what I do online?
Well, just type Meghan Markle contact information and see what comes up, and you may be able to get some kind of contact that you can write her a letter.
So I put what? I put Meghan Meghan Markle.
Yes, Meghan Markle contact address, and see if anything comes up.
All right, thank you so much. Have a very blessed day.
Thank you, dear. You too.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. All right, that's all you have to do. This is a fascinating story about the Prince and the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle. So the family said that they will be addressing this privately, which concerns me because addressing it privately means that the public may never know what resolution they come to. The public may never know what ways they address what Meghan is feeling and going through. The couple also slammed part of the British media for what they said was a torrent of racist abuse toward Meghan. And as you know, Meghan's mother is African American. It's not the first time that self-exiled royals who stepped back from working duties last year have thrust the issue of racism in Britain into the spotlight. This wasn't the first time. They've been raising this issue slowly and gradually over the last few months. Still, the interview dominated the United Kingdom newspapers for a third day on Wednesday and sparked sometimes a heated debate on social media as well as on television about the role that racism played in the couple leaving England. Believe me, if this was not serious to them, Prince Harry grew up in England, his family's there. If this was not serious, I mean extremely serious, he would not have packed up him, his wife, his child, and left England and came to America. Not only did they leave England, but in doing so, they gave up a lot of the privileges that go with being a royal in Britain. That means protection for the family. That means they get an allowance, or they did get an allowance, monthly to handle their expenses and give them money on which to live on. They had to give up all of that in order to leave England and come to the United States. So you know this had to be serious. It also led to the departure of prominent TV broadcaster Piers Morgan. You may have heard about this on yesterday. Piers Morgan from a morning show there in England, hours after storming off the set, as the United Kingdom media regulator announced the show would be investigated amid thousands of complaints regarding his comments about the Duchess of Sussex. Piers Morgan allegedly was on the air, not allegedly, he was on the air, and made disparaging comments about not believing what Meghan was saying, that in his opinion, there was nothing to it. Now, how is he going to know what's inside the mind of Meghan Markle? How is he going to know what was going on in the palace? He's not a member of the royal family. He's not living in the palace on a day-to-day basis. How is he going to have any negative opinion about what she said? The only reason he had any negative opinion is because of her color, the color of her skin. he's made comments about her in the past. So this has been an ongoing rift between Piers Morgan and Meghan Markle, which is just to be unbelievable. Momondo Tal, who is a 27-year-old host of the Malcolm Effect podcast, which spotlights race and identity, told NBC News, quote, "It confirms what we already knew. The royal family, in and of itself, is just the lasting remnant of a brutish British empire," end quote. The saying was that the sun never set on the British Empire because they colonized so many countries around the world that the sun was shining somewhere on a British colony, because that's how many people they were ruling over. Queen Elizabeth II is the head of this Commonwealth, which is a collection of mainly former colonies that maintain links with Great Britain. Hours ahead of the U.S. broadcast of her grandson's interview, which was on Sunday, she gave a speech to celebrate the network. Momondo Tal from Birmingham in central England said that, like many young black men, he had been, now this is going to sound real familiar to you if you are an African American in the United States. Momondo Tal said that he had been repeatedly stopped and searched by police and had racist slurs shouted at him while just walking down the street. He said it was rather a reality that jobs and college access were harder in England for persons of color, noting that Meghan's privilege and wealth had likely shielded her up to that moment. Racism had become worse since the 2016 Brexit referendum, he said, adding that it had provoked a rightward lurch, which is what he called it, a rightward lurch in the country, and stoked fears about foreigners and immigration. Police in England and Wales have both reported an increase in racially motivated hate crimes in the aftermath of the vote to leave the European Union, while government statistics recorded 105,090 hate crimes in the year ending with March of 2020, which was an uptick of 8% over the previous year. Momondo Tal said, quote, "As a black person who has lived and grown up in the UK all my life, we are acutely aware of the racism that exists. The only difference now is someone from the inside now is saying it and laying it bare," end quote. Still, while many may be thankful to Meghan and Harry for speaking up and for reflecting their struggles, said Halma Begum, the chief executive officer of the Runnymede Trust, which is a British race equality think tank, she said, quote, "If as anti-racists we want to make progress, we're going to have to deal with uncomfortable conversations," end quote. Research by this Runnymede Trust has shown that persons of color in Britain often feel a greater pressure to prove they're Brits, while many have been on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic facing disproportionate deaths, just like we do here. British historian Andrew Roberts called the interview damaging, to the monarchy due to the very serious allegations around racism, adding that it could potentially taint Britain's soft power standing abroad. Roberts added, quote, "The thing about the royal family is that it's actually about continuity. It's a 1,000-year-old institution that only changes very slowly," end quote. What's more heartbreaking, pardon me, for some black Brits is the dashed hopes felt since the couple's 2018 star-studded Windsor wedding, which was heralded around the world as a major shift toward greater inclusivity in Britain. Christina Knoll, 32 years old, whose family is from Jamaica, said she remembered watching the wedding and feeling, quote, happy, feeling so happy, end quote. She said from London, quote, "I thought that the whole royal family would now be more multicultural and start to represent the UK," end quote. But this furor has left her feeling, she said, disappointed and let down by the institution of the monarchy where she lives. She said, quote, "It's more than just Meghan. Why are we as black British women always disrespected and disregarded? It just breaks my heart," end quote. Now, we have to know something about the Brits as it relates to the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. Now, if you've seen images of Boris Johnson, in most images that I've seen anyway, he has this wild hair, uncombed. He wants to look, in my opinion, like Donald Trump. But from the Business Insider came the news about British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. This is the Prime Minister now, having a long record of controversial comments about women, about gays, about ethnic minorities. Writing in the Telegraph back in 2002, Johnson himself referred to a visit to Africa by then Prime Minister Tony Blair. Here's what he said, quote, "What a relief it must be for Blair to get out of England. It is said that the Queen has come to love the Commonwealth, partly because it supplies her with regular cheering crowds of flag-waving pickaninnies," end quote. That's what he wrote in the Telegraph in 2002, referring to African people as having watermelon smiles. Watermelon smiles. That's what the Prime Minister of England wrote in the Telegraph in 2002. Confronted about the comment during his first campaign for London mayor, Johnson claimed that the comments had been, quote, taken out of context. That's always the fallback. Whenever they are caught making racist statements, calling those persons of color, African persons of color, pickaninnies, and having watermelon smiles, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson said, "Oh well, those comments they were just taken out of context, didn't really mean it," and that's always the fallback. You know, didn't really mean it. You misunderstood what I said. You misquoted me. No, wasn't misquoted. No, wasn't misunderstood. Those comments are the way that he felt about Africans, and there are more comments that he's made about persons who are gay. He's definitely homophobic. He's made Islamophobic statements about persons who are Muslim. I mean, it just goes on and on. And so when Meghan Markle, during her interview on Oprah, made these statements, made these comments, it is not difficult to believe that this is what actually happened. They were concerned about, whoever this individual was that spoke with Harry directly, was concerned about how dark the child would be that that Harry and Meghan had. And so, obviously, if you've seen pictures of this beautiful little baby that they did have, obviously he looks more Caucasian than he does African American, which I'm sure they had a great sigh of relief in the palace over how the baby does finally look. And my understanding is that Meghan is expecting again, and that the second child will be a girl. The first one was a boy. But that was their concern. How dark will the child be? That's what was reported in many news outlets that Harry said about whoever this individual was, and there may have been more than one individual who was concerned about the interracial marriage of Harry, the prince, to the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle. What do you think? I would love to get your thoughts, get your what you feel about this particular story, what you're thinking. Prime Minister in the Telegraph, which is a publication in Great Britain, back in 2002, used the expression for Africans, calling them pickaninnies. Now, you know that comes from the Deep South here in America. And that's one of the things that is so disturbing. And if you want to give me a call, you can join my conversation. You can pick up the phone, dial these 10 numbers, talking about the incident between Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex. 386-868-0635. The line is open right now. You can get in and talk to me about it. 386-868-0635 if you want to call me. But here's what I was getting ready to say. That term pickaninny, that term came from the Deep South. It is a term that has been used by individuals who own slaves. The children of the slaves were, in many cases, called little pickaninnies by these slave owners. And for allegedly the Prime Minister of England, Boris Johnson, using that term, what does that tell you about what the world sees as the racial climate and attitude in this country? Now, the United States is not as old as England. England goes back several hundred years. We're not as old as a nation, but many of the racial attitudes that are expressed in England, they pick those up from the attitudes of those in the American South. Whites in the American South taught them, just as they taught others in the South here, how to be divisive, how to used terminology that was demeaning to African Americans. They picked up that hatred in this country and use it as a weapon in their own countries. Dr. Kimber, we see you on the Facebook Live feed. Elder Tamil Robinson, we see you. My brother in Christ, my son in the ministry, birthday coming up, I believe. I lost a ton of weight. You're going to have to teach me how to do that, Elder Robinson, how you lost all that weight. But all of you who are on the Facebook Live feed, we're so happy you're there. We see you. We love you. And we're talking about the attitude of race in England over Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and how there is this link between the United States and its racial attitudes by many who are in some of these organizations, like the Ku Klux Klan, like the Proud Boys, like the Boogaloo Boys, all of these groups and many more. That perpetration of African American disdain is something that other countries have learned from us in this country, and you can say what you want to say about it. There is no doubt whatsoever. Deacon Gillis, we see you on the Facebook Live feed. Blessings to you, Deacon. There's no question about it. These other countries have seen the trickle down of racist comments, racist statements that have been made here in America, and they have learned from us how to be divisive, how to be demeaning, how to have this class structure of white supremacy, white superiority. This is something they've learned from the United States. It's been ingrained in this country since 1619, when the first Africans set foot on the shores of this country. There has been this level of vitriol about how African Americans are to be talked to be treated, and put in what they feel was the proper place. Pick up the phone if you want to talk to me about this subject today. It is, wow, we're almost done. It's 47 minutes past the hour. Time is flying. But if you want to call me, you want to talk to me about this issue with Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, race in America, 386-868-0635. That is the live call-in number, 386-868-0635.
The following show is a sponsor of Joy 106.3. Joy 106.3, its parent company, Ringer Broadcasting, Inc., its owners and associates take no responsibility for the opinions or statement made by the talk show hosts, callers, or their guests. Statements or show topics are not necessarily the beliefs of this radio station.
All right. Ahmaud Arbery is back in the news nearly a year after this young man was killed, brutally killed. The Georgia House is looking at a bill to reform the state's citizen arrest law. In theroot.com, you'll find this particular article about Ahmaud Arbery, the killing of this young man by two white men who thought they could take the law into their own hands, sent a ripple effect through the nation that is still being felt today. Now, this was in Georgia. For those of us here in Florida, that's a hop, skip, and a jump away. In a couple of hours, you can be in Georgia from here in Central Florida. In an effort to prevent something like this from happening again, the Georgia House unanimously, we want to give them credit for this, even though they're now trying to rewrite the election laws in Georgia, but we do want to give them credit for this particular move. The Georgia House unanimously passed a bill that is overhauling its citizens arrest law. Now, you know, right here in Florida, we had a major issue with citizen arrest with Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman, wannabe cop, who decided that Trayvon must have been a thug just because he was wearing a hoodie, walking through the neighborhood. Zimmerman felt as though he had the right to approach him, the right to confront him, and the right to shoot him. And so, according to CNN, should HB 479 pass in the state Senate and be signed by Governor Brian Kemp, Republican, Georgia will become the first state to overhaul its citizens arrest law. The history of the law is a sordid history. It was crafted during the Civil War, and you're going to find that most of this stuff, Carol, we see you on the Facebook Live feed, most of the things that we experience as African Americans has come directly out of slavery and the desire of the southern and in many cases the northern states to continue to keep African Americans in their place. Well, the history of this citizens arrest law, crafted during the Civil War, granted citizens the right to capture fugitive slaves. That's where this citizens arrest law had its beginning, allowing white individuals to recapture slaves, arrest them, and put them back into subjugation. This law's origins don't come from the purest of places by any stretch of the imagination, said Representative Burt Reeves, who is the lead sponsor of this new bill, and he talked to CNN about what he was feeling about how this law needed to be changed. Last year, Ahmaud Arbery was, you remember the story, young man just jogging in a neighborhood near Brunswick, Georgia, when Travis and Greg McMichael allegedly chased him down, confronted him at gunpoint because they believed that he was responsible for what they claimed was a string of robberies in the neighborhood, even though a report revealed that there had been no reported robberies in the neighborhood for weeks. So that was just a smokescreen as their excuse. Arbery got into a struggle with Travis McMichael over his shotgun. Many of us saw the video, and was shot 3 times, and it killed him. Video of Arbery's death, for most of us, we saw it. It went viral all over the internet, spurring outrage and marking the beginning of what would become a year-long reckoning on systemic racism and racial violence. While Arbery was killed in February of last year, both men weren't even arrested until 3 months later. So it took 3 months after the death of Ahmaud Arbery for these 2 men to be arrested. They now face charges of malice and felony murder, as well as counts of aggravated assault, false imprisonment, and criminal attempt to commit false imprisonment. Of course, they pleaded not guilty to all of these charges. Reeves told CNN, Representative Reeves told CNN, quote, "After Arbery's death in Georgia last February, it is incumbent upon us to act to make sure that nobody can ever use this outdated, archaic Civil War era law to chase somebody down, resulting in their death, end quote. Democratic Representative William Bodie, who is a co-sponsor of the bill, told CNN that he hoped that the bill's passage will make people less likely to attempt a citizen's arrest, as they will no longer be able to use it as a defense. Should the bill be passed into law, and let's hope it does, it provides extensive guidelines on when a citizen can make an arrest. For example, should a store owner manage to thwart a robbery, they would be allowed to make an arrest, but must call the proper authorities within an hour or release the detainee. The bill already has support in the state Senate as well as from the governor, so it's likely, let's be praying, it's likely that this bill will become law in the state of Georgia. But these citizens arrest laws in many of the states, direct result of the aftermath of slavery, wanting to maintain control and power over people of color living in these communities, using the tactics of fear and intimidation to keep them in their place. And many of you know, you've heard me say this before, the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, all of that stemmed in its origin from allowing these men, in most cases, in just about all cases, men to bear arms so that they could go and capture runaway slaves. That's the genesis, that's the beginning of talk about the right to bear arms in the United States. It stems from the systemic racist attitudes of white men in this country. So we have to be real about it. People don't like to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. But that's where it came from. That's where it began. And it has been in place in this country since its inception. And you hear them getting vehemently upset when you talk about taking away their guns. Because they want those guns. They want to be able to exact justice. They want to be the judge and jury when incidents arise in their communities, so that they can take the law into their own hands. And so we need to just be real about that. People don't like to talk about it. People get upset when you mention it, but the truth is the truth. You're listening to Let's Chat America here on Joy 106.3 FM. I am your host, Dr. L. Ronald Durham. Ashley, we see you on the Facebook Live feed. Thank you, beloved, for being on with us today. And all of you who have tuned in and stayed with me for the entire hour. We are 58 minutes past the hour right now. And I do want to thank all of you for watching, for viewing online, those who've been listening by radio, our caller who called in. We appreciate you as well. And we hope that you will share this broadcast with others. The video feed from Facebook will be placed on YouTube shortly after the broadcast today. You can go to YouTube. You can view these broadcasts. You can hear them over again. You can share them with family. Just go to the Let's Chat America channel on YouTube. We have our own channel, and you'll see several videos of past programs on our YouTube channel. And we're going to put this one up shortly after the broadcast today. I hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Let's keep our minds open. Let's keep our minds clear about what's going on in this country, and we're going to be sharing with you as events happen every week, including having guests on the air to talk about some of these things as we move forward. I do want to thank you for listening. It's 1 o'clock, which means I've got to go, but Lord willing, next Thursday, 12 noon, I'll be right back here.
Thanks for listening.
Hope you'll be here with
Enjoyed today's program here on Let's Chat America, broadcast from the world's most famous beach. To request Dr. Durham to speak at your event, please call 386-451-5114. Again, that's 386-451-5114. Tune in next Thursday, 12 noon, for another powerful program hour here on Joy 106.3 FM.
WAIGLP, Daytona Beach, Joy 106.3, PC 101 services located at 955 Orange Avenue.